So the cool rapper and skater, Xilonen, finally dropped, and Xilonen is a Geo DPS, but more importantly, she is a buffer. She has a sick design and a fun playstyle, allowing you to skate around enemies in style. She can also skate on walls on top of that, which is such a fun thing to do. But before we get into the Xilonen guide, please don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy my content. So let's jump right into this Xilonen guide. To put it simply, I would say Xilonen is the Furina or the Kazuha of Natlan. She works insanely well with your Natlan characters, but she can also be a good pickup and buffer for some of your older characters too. Let's start off this guide with Xilonen's weapon options. The Peak Patrol Song is Xilonen's limited banner weapon. It provides you with defense as its main stat, and for the passive, it increases defense and elemental damage when you normal attack and plunge for 6 seconds and maxes at 2 stacks. It will also increase all nearby party members' elemental damage bonus for every 1000 defense the holder has. Then your next option, the Uraku Misugiri. The Uraku Misugiri is the weapon alongside Xilonen's weapon. It is also her second best in slot, and as I said, lucky for everyone. If you do lose, or rather, if you get slightly unlucky and you do not get the Peak Patrol Song and you get a Uraku Misugiri instead, it is a very viable option for her, because at level 90, this weapon will provide you with 88 crit damage. It also will increase your normal attack and elemental skill damage. On top of that, after a nearby active character deals geo damage, you will gain defense additionally. Then onto your next option, which is your free-to-play craftable weapon, which is so good on her. This is the Flute of Espetzl, right? So at level 90, this weapon will give you 69% defense. Nice. For the passive, using an elemental skill increases your defense by an additional amount depending on your refinement, of course. Then your next option will be the Cinnabar Spindle. The Cinnabar Spindle is an older event weapon. It's practically as good as the Flute. And if you have it lying around and you don't want to farm and craft the new craftable, Xilonen can use the Cinnabar Spindle perfectly. And now let's jump right into the artifact section of this guide. For the subset priority on a main DPS build for Xilonen, use a Defense Sands, a Geo Goblet, and a Crit Circlet, depending on your crit stats, of course. For the subset priority for a support build Xilonen, you can use either a Energy Recharge Sands or a Defense Sands, a Defense Goblet, and a Defense or a Crit Circlet. Starting off with the DPS side of things, the Obsidian Codex is going to be Xilonen's best option for a main DPS set. Then for your next 4-piece option, you can run the Husk of Opulent Dreams. And if you don't have any good husk pieces lying around, your next best choice will be the Maru Chasse Hunter. And now finally, for your last DPS option, you can use the Nighttime Whispers in the Echoing Woods. Now getting over to the support artifact set, the Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City will be the best and pretty much only option I'd recommend for Xilonen, if you are using her as a support. So now that you know her weapons and her artifacts, let's head over to her talents next. For this talent segment, I'm going to keep it very basic. I'm going to touch on very small things because the character is very simple and intricate in some parts, so I will do my best to make it as simplified as possible. Before we jump into what her talents can do, let's start off with Xilonen's talent priority. You want to level up her skill into her burst, and lastly, you can leave her normal attack at 1, but if you want, you can take it up to level 6 at least. Now let's dive right into Xilonen's skill. I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce this, I'm just going to butcher it. Her skill at level 10 will decrease 36% of enemies' elemental resistance. Let me quickly and briefly break down the source samples. Xilonen has 3 samplers with her that can generate different soundscapes based on her other party members' elemental types, decreasing nearby opponents' corresponding elemental resistance while active. As it says here, the initial recorded source sample within each sampler will be Geo, and for each party member who is Pyro, Hydro, Cryo, and Electro in that order, 1 Geo sample will change to that corresponding element. So that's the brief rundown I wanted to take on her skill. It's very straightforward, so now let's jump right into her ultimate. Xilonen's burst provides you with a decent amount of damage, but most importantly, she can heal. And you know what that means? Yep, you can run Xilonen and Furina together comfortably for an even bigger buff. And now quickly looking at Xilonen's passive talents, while Xilonen is in the Night Soul state, if Xilonen has at least 2 source samples that have had their elemental types changed, she gains 35 Night Soul points when her normal attack or plunging attack hits opponents. And this can be triggered every 0.1 seconds. Then, if Xilonen has fewer than 2 source samples that have had their elemental types changed, her normal attack and plunging attacks deal 30% increased damage. Then for the next passive talent, while Xilonen is in the Night Soul state again, when Shilonen's Night Soul points reaches the maximum, she will trigger an effect equal to that of her Night Soul burst. And this can be triggered every 14 seconds. Additionally, when nearby party members trigger a Night Soul burst, Shilonen's defense is increased by 20% for 15 seconds. Then the last two, this is obviously just the Night Realm's gift that works for Xilonen. And then the final one, when you trigger a Night Soul's transmission, you will restore 15 phlogiston. And now finally, we get to the team portion of this video. So far, Xilonen works really well with Mualani, so the team will be Mualani, Zhongli, Xiangling, and Xilonen. Then, the more fun team for me, I might be very biased on this standpoint, her next best team will be with Neuvillette. This team will be Neuvillette, Furina, Xilonen, and Kazuha. Big buffers. Obviously, as everyone understands, if you want to run Furina with Neuvillette, you need to have C1, but don't stress about it too much. If you don't have C1, you can always just run Furina on this team anyway. Then after that, you can try Xilonen on various other teams such as Navia, Arlecchino, even Florand. The possibilities for this character are seemingly limitless. Thank you all so much for watching this quick Xilonen guide. I hope it helped you build her and understand her slightly. She's a very fun and basic character and really brings up the vibes in any team. So don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe, and may the way up bless you in your future pulls.